what I'm asking is.
Have you called the whole list?
Yeah.
At once.
Yeah.
As opposed to go 1, 2 at a time.
You can't. We'll
Call
be
the whole
here.
list.
We'll be Thanksgiving. We'll be here
Right.
from the 12th. That's
well,
what.
go out with all of them.
Oh yeah.
Go out with all of them. Then when they come in order.
That's what I thought we
Sure.
Right?
I thought we talked about that because that. Oh yeah. Go
No,
on.
what we talked about was we were going to go up to, you know, if they all came, you might be at 22 per class.
I wouldn't worry about them all coming.
They're not going to all come.
No, and if you haven't heard back from a couple, they're not coming.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's my point is.
Well, I'm happy to go out to the, I'll go out to the rest of the
Each
list.
one of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
kids is.
Plus then you'll get an idea of what are your total take on these people going to be. Might as well get it now.
Well, yeah, I mean, if offered, would you?
So, yeah.
It's a question for all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
All, I mean, but all, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because then you prioritize whether you want to go over.
Yeah, yeah, well,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Good point.
okay, but for 4th and 5th, how quickly can we do that? Because
We got to call them all tonight.
And that's the hot part of the list.
How soon?
Just remember there was
I think
always-
our board meeting's nearing an end. It's time to make calls.
Yeah.
All right, we don't have to
Okay,
vote
so
that.
enrollment has actually really come up a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the momentum, if you really think about it, that opened with 64 students just a few days ago under significant duress and with Commissioner of Education indicating that students should go elsewhere. We're now already up to 70 and with more calls coming in. So
again, my concern is that if we contact 2 or 3 and don't hear from them,
Well,
the next 2 don't get it. I just do them.
all.
How many are on this period? Like 30?
As soon as we go.
Yes,
Do you want to say anything about budget? We're going to not finish this. We're not going to talk about board committees.
Well-
Do we need to say anything about the budget tonight? I know that
It's not due
still
till
working.
15th.
just that
Yeah.
it's
being
we're
worked
working
on.
on it. It's going to be
Okay.
tight budget and needless to say. So you know, we'll absolutely be ready well before that date. So
So it will be ready by the next board meeting, which is next week. Right, 'cause we need to
that's
vote
the
on it.
idea.
Which is
That's right.
the 5th Tuesday?
It's a week from today.
Right, so we'll see it before, we'll see it next day.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, today, well, tomorrow's Friday. In all likelihood, we need to get it out by either the weekend or Monday. Monday's probably more likely.
And the audit,
And the audit, I want to recommend that we consider firm of John R. Buckley for doing our audit. The audit the first year, remember, is just the $150,000 startup grant. So that's really all we have in that first audit. But the firm of John R. Buckley is well known to charter schools. They have numerous other charter schools they do audits for. So they're familiar with the grants from the state, how they function, how they need to be tracked, and reported on. So I think that they're very, very reasonable in terms of cost. So I would recommend that we consider them, and if you want, I can see if they would like to present at our next meeting on the 5th.
is there a date by which we need to have our
November.
In November?
Yeah.
So, and we know their availability and.
They haven't had any conversation with them about it at this point directly, but I would imagine they are.
It's a standard professional service, but the fees vary.
Right. And this was from both the Charter School Association and from various other charters that the CFOs of other charters indicated they were extremely reasonable, but equally important that they understand the charter school environment, which because of the various grants that you see from the state, both from with regard to startup, which is fairly simple this first time around, but then there are multiple grants that you may be receiving for different reasons.
No,
and they should be tracked.
And having run audits before, my assumption is that this is an instance where public bidding comes into play. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. So we probably, whatever the process is, we'll follow the process.
So we should, so we should check on that and find out if it's quotes, which usually, in terms of best business practice, you want a minimum of 3 quotes from 3 different auditors.
Well, it depends on whatever. Now I'm in territory that I wouldn't understand what the requirement is of public bidding. Business
Do
practice.
you wanna
One thing for
check in
public
with
bidding.
Well, this would be to check with, that falls right into what we just talked about.
Let's
So
have our
we should-
training.
Let's talk to, well, more importantly,
No, there's a-
that we go to Colin, we ask
And
for
also you-
his advice, that's what we just said.
So,
Tad will know it
for
off
the
the top of
next,
his head.
for the next meeting, let's put that on the list.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, have a conversation with Colin or Tad.
So, and if that recommendation is that we would get multiple quotes, then I'll go ahead and ask for quotes.
That's-
Yeah, there's probably a list of,
Yep.
of auditors who know what they're looking at when they look at a first year chart.
Yeah.
So we're, board committees you can put on for the next meeting as well. We're not gonna do it tonight.
Yeah, although whatever that is, you know, for the agenda next time, let's, executive director and board chair should figure out the details of those
Have
things.
standard.
Yeah, because going forward, I think there's likely an agenda that's reasonably standard, but we'll
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
we'll have sub,
space for, yeah.
well, and sub-elements, sub-titles to specifics that we need to address so that people who are visiting know what we're going to be talking about too.
Did you get that yawn on camera? Did you catch that?
So, I would entertain a move into adjourn.
Second?
Assume there's any discussion here. Okay, so, in favor? 6:42 on my watch, which probably is not exactly accurate, which is why I missed the train. It's actually not.
Thank you.
We hope to see you at some of the events.
Monday night?
Monday night underneath the community
That's
room.
why, 'cause-
So, I have a question about enrollment.
Yeah.
You said, you were talking about kids who have left and might come back. You said you hadn't unenrolled them?
Right, meaning that if we haven't received anything from parents indicating that they're not coming or they're not enrolled, or then they're still enrolled.
But
So
that
those-
number
just
of,
like-
that number of 70, that is
Those are
like
kids that are
actually
here.
kids that are.
Yeah,
here.
those are kids that are here, not imaginary kids. Yeah, no, so what I was referring to there was
What's
just that,
what's
you know,
the
unless
number?
we've been sent a formal request by a family indicating that can you please send our records to whichever school and that we're not attending, we're choosing not to attend, so we wouldn't unenroll them, they'd still be enrolled.
Right, but when you say, I'm confused again. So the first thing you just said there is there's 70 kids who are enrolled
70 kids
and
here,
attending.
coming every day,
Okay, and then you're talking
unless
about
they're sick.
the kids who are not attending but are still enrolled, and that tells me they're in the enrollment figure. But just to be really clear,
How many kids is that?
the kids who have left, even though you haven't received a formal request, are not counted in that figure of 70.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. So, yeah, your enrollment figure might be showing 75 right now. So there might be families who are still trying to find out, you know, are you coming, are you not coming? We haven't heard from them. But the kids that are actually here are coming every day, and then we've got 70 kids. But, you know, we still got kids we don't know whether they're here or they're somebody else somewhere else.
All right, that's clear. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Actually forgot about this thing.
If you figure out, I'll call Brian next week, but figure out the issue, because I'm sure it's something that hasn't really come up that often about if they're responsible for busing for that week in June. Maybe other charter schools haven't had the later date, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how it's interpreted, but supposedly they remain responsible for any transportation within the district. But we also want to work with the district,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, just if you hear. you know,
Yeah,
what
I mean, as
they-
soon as I get a response
Yeah.
from the DA.
That's a for like next week thing for me, because I didn't even think about it this week, but
Yeah, no, I'll definitely pursue it and
Yeah.
find out for you.
good to know, good to know. And the Saturdays, when it says early release, so it's about like at 12:45.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
12:45.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I have a question about attendance too. Are charter schools held to the same attendance percentage requirements as public schools and are.
In terms of how many days of school that they,
You know,
it's a good question. I don't know the answer to it, but I would guess so. Because even in the independent schools, you've got to have a minimum number of days for the year, I think.
no, it's not just minimum number of days, but public schools are required by No Child Left Behind to have a minimum number, percentage of attendance.
Yeah, that's what I meant, was they have to be there
Yeah.
for a certain number of those
For
days.
the
You can't sort of have 180 days in your school year, but kids actually aren't coming to most of them or something. And
Right.
they have the year count. Because I remember that's come up before where, if you had a student that was, not showing up, chronic attendance issue, at some point, they can't get credit for the year. They're done, basically.
Right, but the school can't get credit for days at public schools. I mean, not the student not getting credit for the day, the school not getting credit for the day.
Oh, if there's not a certain amount percent of attendance here at the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, and I'll have to look into it.
Where do you get this stuff?
I've spent a tremendous amount of time in my life at school-related meetings.
You sound like me now.
It's true.
Well, there's no way.
I mean, it would make sense, actually, because,
Well, I mean,
suppose like you had a Saturday school, and 5 kids show up. How can
What
that
does
be a
that
school
count
day?
as a school day?
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
good. I mean, I would imagine that's true.
That's another question I had. I couldn't tell from the calendar how many Saturdays are scheduled. Is it every Saturday?
Yeah, they're actually on in
Oh,
brown.
I've got them.
So it's, I can't remember if
There's
it's 5 or
5 of
6. Right?
Okay.
Here.
Because I saw the Browns that said early dismissal.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So that implied that all the other Saturdays were full days?
No, I think all the Saturdays
To
are.
my brain, the Saturdays are
It's just
sacred brain.
those 5 half-day Saturdays.
Okay,
Right.
Okay,
1,
yeah,
2, 3, okay.
that
All right.
I get.
I think, no, that was yours, All right. Because I,